Good morning and thank you for joining us on this edition of Yes 101's the Breakfast Rundown on TV1. I'm Therunee Karunaratne. We're coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. As always, we're ready with the details on this morning's top local, international and sports news items. Let's start off with news here at home. The National Election Commission of Sri Lanka has called on all political parties and independent groups to immediately submit the names of additional members to be appointed from their respective additional nomination lists. Commissioner General of Elections, Sri Ratnayaka, stated that it is the responsibility of all contesting political parties and independent groups to provide these names without further delay. The names must be submitted in writing to the relevant district returning officers following the official procedures. Now, these appointments pertain to the local government elections, and the selection of additional members must be done in accordance with the proportional representation system based on the number of votes that each political party or independent group has received. According to the Commission, the returning officers will make the appointments based on the officially communicated vote counts and the party entitlements under the proportional voting system. Meanwhile, Commissioner General of Elections, Sri Ratnayaka, says that district returning officers possess all details on 60% of the candidates who won seats in their respective local government bodies. He added that leaders of political parties and independent groups have been informed to send in the names of the remaining 40%. Meanwhile, he urges all relevant parties to follow instructions provided to them promptly. He pointed out that this procedure needs to be carried out soon, as the tenure of local government bodies is set to commence on the 2nd of June this year. Let's move on to more local news for this morning. The committee appointed to study the Batalanda Commission report is scheduled to convene for the first time today. The committee has stated that it intends to submit a final report to the Attorney General as swiftly as possible based on key findings that may emerge during this review process. The 5-member committee was appointed by Attorney General and is chaired by Senior Additional Solicitor General Rohantha Abesurya. The Batalanda Commission report was recently forwarded to the Attorney General by the President's office following a directive issued by the President. The report investigates a series of events that occurred during the 1988 to 1990 period, a time marked by intense political unrest and violence in Sri Lanka. Political discourse surrounding the Batalanda Commission report resurfaced after former President Ranil Wickremesinghe addressed this topic during an appearance on Al Jazeera's head-to-head program on the 6th of March this year. Now, the current review is expected to re-examine the findings and recommendations related to the alleged human rights violations and unlawful detentions reported during the late 1980s as well as the early 1990s, with potential legal and political implications depending on the committee's conclusions. And in more local news, the Sri Lankan Department of Railways says that train operations have been disrupted due to a train derailment that occurred in the area between Habarana and Hatteras Kotua. The incident involved the overnight mail train travelling from Colombo Fort to Batticaloa, which derailed during its journey. Initial reports from the department suggest that the derailment may have been caused by a collision with a wild elephant. As of now, restoration of this railway line has not commenced, and the train services along the affected section of the railway line have been suspended. Authorities are assessing the situation, and further updates on the resumption of services are expected once recovery efforts begin. Passengers are advised to check for schedule changes as well as delays. And in your weather update for this morning, the Met Department says that the southwest monsoon is gradually establishing across the island, bringing increased rainfalls across various parts of the island. According to the department, intermittent showers or thunderstorms are expected in the western, Sabaragamuwa, northwestern, central and southern provinces in the coming days. Heavy rainfall of about 75 millimeters are likely in certain areas of the western and Sabaragamuwa provinces, as well as in the districts of the Galle, Mathura, Putlam, Nuwara Eliya and Kandy districts. The Met Department has advised the general public to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers, and residents in the affected areas are urged to stay alert and follow safety guidelines as weather conditions may intensify with the further development of this monsoon system. We're still in local news. 15 teams of the Police Special Task Force have been deployed to combat organised criminal groups, according to Sri Lanka Police. Police stated that these STF teams are currently conducting investigations into 18 organised criminal gangs operating within the country. According to Senior Superintendent of Police and Police Media spokesperson Buddhika Manatunga, a total of 46 shooting incidents have been reported so far this year. He revealed this information during a media briefing that was held yesterday. He also said that of these incidents, 31 have been directly linked to operations orchestrated by organised criminal gangs. Now, a new gazette has been issued permitting the importation of salt into Sri Lanka without a license until the 10th of June, according to the Import and Export Controller General of Sri Lanka, Upulmali Prema Tilaka. She stated that during this period, importers do not require a license to bring salt into the country. However, imports must comply with the recommendations from the Ministry of Health. Under this regulation, both non-iodized salt and edible salt can be imported by any trader who meets the required health standards. Meanwhile, Minister of Trade, Commerce, Food Security, Vasantha Samarasinghe announced that 250 metric tons of salt will be imported into the country today for immediate consumption. He further noted that additional shipments of salt will arrive in the country on Wednesday, Thursday, as well as Friday. The imported salt is being sourced from India, and this move is part of the government's decision to ease import restrictions to stabilize domestic salt supply. The Cabinet of Ministers, during a meeting held on the 15th of May, granted approval to relax restrictions and allow salt imports to address ongoing shortages as well as the market demand in the country. With that, let's move on to news overseas. US President Donald Trump said Russia and Ukraine will immediately start negotiating towards a ceasefire and an end to the war after a 2-hour phone call with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. Trump, who described the conversation as having gone very well, also said the conditions for peace would need to be negotiated between the two parties. Putin said he was ready to work with Ukraine on a memorandum on a possible future peace agreement, but he did not address demands from the United States and the European countries for an unconditional 30-day ceasefire. Trump also spoke with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who said this is a defining moment and urged the US not to distance itself from these peace talks. While Trump has expressed positivity towards his conversation with Putin, there was no indication about when the peace negotiations would take place or if Moscow is prepared to make any concessions on its demands for a ceasefire. After his one-on-one call with Trump, Zelensky affirmed Ukraine's desire for a full and unconditional ceasefire and warned if Moscow is not ready, there must be stronger sanctions. Speaking earlier before Trump's conversation with Putin, Zelensky said he had asked that any decisions about Ukraine were not made without his country, calling them matters of principle for Ukraine. He added that he did not have any details on a memorandum, but said once they have received anything from the Russians, they will be able to formulate their vision accordingly. Writing on his Truth Social page after the call, Trump said, and I quote, "Russia and Ukraine will immediately start negotiations towards a ceasefire and, most importantly, an end to the war," unquote, adding that he had informed Zelensky of this in a second call, which also included other world leaders. He added, quote, "The condition for that will be negotiated between the two parties, as it can only be because they know details of a negotiation that nobody else would be aware of," unquote. Zelensky said the negotiation process must involve both American and European representatives at the appropriate level. He added, "It is crucial for all of us that the United States does not distance itself from the talks and the pursuit of peace, because the only one who benefits from that is Putin." Now, talking at the White House event later in the day, Trump said the United States would not be stepping away from the brokering the talks between Russia and Ukraine, but that he has a red line in his head on when he will stop pushing on them both. He also denied that the US was stepping back from its negotiating role. Let's take a look at what President Trump had to say.
I talked to him about it. I said, when are we going to end this, Vladimir? I've known him for a long time now. I said, when are we going to end this bloodshed, this bloodbath? It's a bloodbath. And I do believe he wants to end it. You know, when I made the call, I told the people last night, I spoke to the heads of the different countries, Germany and Finland. We had Italy, as you know, and UK was on the line today, and a couple of others. And then they were in turn calling everyone. Ursula was there from the European Union. She was terrific. And we spoke for a long time about it. And they got a problem. It's a big, big problem. It's a terrible war. It's very hard to extradite themselves away from what's taking place over there. The amount of anger, the amount of hate, and the amount of death. It's very hard. Very tough situation.
And finally, on to your sports news update this morning. In sports, it's cricket. Sunrisers Hyderabad secured a convincing 6-wicket victory over Lucknow Super Giants in the 61st match of the Indian Premier League held in Lucknow. Winning the toss, Sunrisers Hyderabad opted to bowl first. Batting first, Lucknow Super Giants posted a competitive total of 207 runs for the loss of 7 wickets in their allotted 20 overs. Mitchell Marsh was the top scorer for LSG with a well-played 65 runs, while Aidan Markram contributed 61 runs to the total. With the ball, Eshan Malinga stood out for SRH, taking 2 wickets for 28 runs. In response, Sunrisers Hyderabad suffered an early setback, losing their first wicket at just 17 runs. However, a crucial 82-run partnership for the second wicket between Ishan Kishan and Abhishek Sharma steadied the innings. Abhishek Sharma played a key role with a 59-run knock, while Ishan Kishan added 35 runs. Kamidu Mendes also chipped in with 32 runs before retiring hurt due to an injury. Chasing a target of 208 runs, Sunrisers Hyderabad completed the win in 18.2 overs, finishing at 208 for the loss of 4 wickets with 10 balls to spare. And that's a wrap of this morning's edition of The Breakfast Rundown on TV1. Thank you for joining us. Do join us once again tomorrow morning as well. Same time, same place. For more of the very latest from here at home and around the world. Take care. Have a wonderful day ahead.